A well-known Swedish preacher recently said that God is about to punish Sweden for its many sins and that only a short window of grace remains. Do not despise prophecies. Test all things. Hold fast to what is good, Paul said regarding prophetic words like these. It does not matter how renowned or respected a certain preacher is. Everything that is prophesied in God's name must be tested against the Holy Scriptures of the Bible and the finished work of Jesus. Whenever serious prophetic messages are given, it is not uncommon that the person in question says that he or she spent time before God in fasting and prayer, and while doing so received an important message from God to the nation. Prayer and fasting are often used to give extra legitimacy and credibility to prophetic words. But it does not matter how much a certain preacher has fasted and prayed. The prophetic message still must be tried against the truth of the gospel and the Bible as a whole. Prophetic messages in the New Covenant, which is the covenant we live under today, that do not agree with Jesus and his finished work are false, no matter how spiritual they sound. The testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. Revelation chapter 19 verse 10 says, "True prophetic words never contradict the testimony of Jesus, but always agree with and confirm the gospel." Not too long ago, I heard a well-known American preacher say on Christian TV, "Unless God judges America, he will have to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah." This American preacher argued that the sins that are committed in America today are even more serious than those that transpired in Sodom and Gomorrah. He's probably right, but is his statement correct in light of the truth of the gospel? Not at all. God would have spared Sodom and Gomorrah if there only had been 10 righteous people living back then. In America today, there are millions of born-again believers that have been made the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus through faith. God would not even have judged America had we lived in the days of Abraham before the cross. However, we are not living in the same age as Abraham. Something very significant has happened between then and now that has totally changed how God relates to the world and how mankind can relate to God. The cross, the atonement, the redemptive work of Jesus Christ. God sent his son Jesus to deal with the sins of the world once and for all. Paul says in 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 19 that God was in Christ reconciling the world to himself, not imputing their trespasses to them, and has committed to us the word of reconciliation. In Colossians chapter 1 verses 19 through 20, Paul says, "For it pleased the Father that in him all the fullness should dwell, and by him to reconcile all things to himself, by him whether things on earth or things in heaven, having made peace through the blood of his cross." God does not need to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah for not punishing or judging America, but he would have to apologize to Jesus had he judged America today, since this would have meant that the sacrifice of Jesus was not sufficient and that Christ went through the suffering of the cross in vain. The good news of the gospel is that Jesus and the cross is enough. In Isaiah chapter 53 verse 5, a well-known Old Testament prophecy about the death of Jesus on the cross, it says, "He was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement or punishment for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed." The punishment for the sins of the world was laid upon Jesus. Because of that, God is not about to punish America or Scandinavia or any other nation or place today. His heart is yearning that the word of reconciliation, the good news that there is peace between heaven and earth today because of the cross, should be shared with every nation and person.